Hello, are we live? We appear to be streaming. Appearing to be streaming. Let's test the old chatter at our box cafe. And that seems to work. So what's on my mind today? Well, I'll tell you. Just a couple of things. First off, there is good entertainment news. Because I need to be entertained most of the time after dinner, particularly between the hours of dinner time and bedtime. I like to partake in some scripted visual entertainment. And typically that is Netflix or Prime Movies. And given all this striking stuff and the prospect for any, new episodes of anything looks so absolutely bleak, I wasn't really expecting to find anything. I hate to, watch movies more than once, unless it's really a truly classic. And even then, if I've seen it in the last 5 years, I don't need to see it again. So no matter how many times Jaws is on, I don't need to see it more than once every 5 or 6 years. Unless I'm truly bored. Anyway, so I didn't have much hope for Netflix offering anything. And there turns out this series, it's based on an anime. And it's, oh boy, the name is escaping me now. It's the one, not the One Ring to Rule Them All. It's something unique. It's what is it? It's based on a Japanese anime, but it's live action, and everybody speaks English, and there's quite a, I won't say staggering size cast, but they do introduce the large cast at a fairly reasonable pace, so even somebody like I can keep track of it. And now that name, I'm going to have to Google it. I just hate that. Netflix anime series. Talk about being prepared. Oh, come on. Anime adaptation. Yeah, Bleach. I tried Bleach. And Full Metal Alchemist. Wasn't a fan. Death Note was okay as a movie, but I really liked the actual, hate to say cartoon, but the animated anime. But what is the current one now? This is unbelievable. Recent. One Piece. There. God. It's like One Piece bathing suit? No, it's the One Piece. It's the singular goal of the action. I'm not going to describe it, but it's a lot of fun. It goes by quickly. The pacing is pretty cool. Everybody has a good attitude and believability with their characters. They seem to be into it. And there are some, of course, pretty wild things that happen in animes, and naturally some of them require a certain amount of visual effects, and but that's okay. They seem to do those well. It's not over bloated with them. But it's mostly the script and the situations that are interesting, funny, engaging. The characters are, well, you know how three-dimensional can fantasy characters be, but they're at least, you know, they have motivations, and the actors portray it like they are motivated, and it's just a lot of fun. I do recommend it. One Piece. I haven't gotten all the way through. I think I'm only in the third or fourth episode. But it was a surprise. You know, I'd been putting off even trying it because it's like, oh my God, do I really want to do this? Start something like this? And of course, you know, there won't be anything for next year or the year after that because everybody's on strike this year when they're supposed to be writing the new stuff for it or adapting it or whatever. But it is good, brainless entertainment, and it doesn't make you roll your eyes like so many things do nowadays. And plenty fun. Meanwhile, the other things I've been cruising on the internet are I've been watching a lot of debates lately, and a word keeps coming up. And I don't know if I even put it in my podcast here. Probably didn't even put it in the title or description, but epistemology. And you would think that would be a very dry subject, and probably that's why I never paid attention in school and don't ever remember anybody ever talking about epistemology. And it's rather what I would call a companion word, ontology. One is sort of the science of knowledge, the epistemology, and the other is kind of the science of existence or existing, what it means to exist. So they're very metaphysical types of words. Well, maybe not metaphysical. I don't know if I ever used that word correctly. At least philosophical types of words, because you're trying to deal with what is real and what exists and how you know it and stuff like that. So naturally there's been a lot of I want to say there's been a lot of debates on, you know, going back to the days of Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris, you know, debating the existence of God and the virtues of atheism and all that stuff. Those types of debates have led towards this more like generalized types of debates about how reliable what we believe is versus, you know, what is you take on faith and is quote unquote religious, and how do you know in what is the level of what passes muster as knowledge and something that you can say you know and believe in or believe to be true even. Fortunately, I believe, you know, logicians and other scholars have figured out kind of a way of saying what truth is and what falseness is. So there's not so much of a definitional type of thing about that. But the morality, which is another one of those cloudy words that gets associated with how you choose to live your life and whether or not you're violating some either rights or values that are shared with other people or maybe not shared with other people. And so it's all very applicable to everybody's existential angst of the day. I mean, we all deal with reality and stuff that's in front of us that's makes us behave the way we do, and or at least gives us a range of choices to behave in a list of potential ways that either are consistent or not consistent with either a code, a moral code, a sense of honor, blah blah blah, the whole caboodle. And anyway, through watching a bunch of these debates, this guy, Matt Dillahunty, is a very good at it. There are parts of his delivery that I don't like, especially on his call-in program where he really gets angry a lot of the times. That's kind of a turnoff for me, but he generally frames questions. He asks questions that, and he does deserve answers instead of hemming and hawing. And I think that's one of the biggest gripes he has, especially on call-in shows, is that, he'll ask a question and nobody will answer the direct question, but try to answer something else that deflects or distracts. And it's a common human trait, I think, to not admit you don't know something or don't have a well-formed opinion on something, and you can't really say what the answer is without appearing to be lightweight or not thought worthy or something. But he is entertainment. He used to be on a different call-in show, more atheist oriented, but now he's on something called The Line, which is a channel that hosts many programs of not just stuff about atheists and belief, but whether it's trans issues or just pretty much anything related to kind of what's new and topical, I guess. I mean, there's some there. I think there's two based on skepticism, and a couple of. There's the one transatlantic. There's the other one, dying out loud, which is kind of. I've not watched it, but it's called the channel is called The Line, and so he hosts live interactions there with callers who try to persuade him that he's full of shit for not believing in God, and he will go through all the normal intellectual exercises to demonstrate that. Not that there isn't a God, but that there's no reason to believe in a God given the current evidence. The evidence doesn't pass muster, and he's good at finding the right words for, saying what can you take on. Well, not on faith, but on enough truthfulness to make some proposition worth believing, and certainly the direct truthness and falseness. He's kind of a master logician, and a very thoughtful person. And anyway, so he does that. He also debates, like with guys like Sam Harris and all the Christian apologists, and those debates are sometimes they're telecast live, but they're usually sponsored through a university or some other type of a thing. But he also, on his channel, he will he'll make some vignettes about, topics, or review the debates and say where he thinks he could have done better making a case, or where he shouldn't have let somebody get away with something, or who strawmanned who, and who's, and why you let some fights go and make other cases. So he's good about coming full circle with the that. So anyway, epistemology is a great big part of how something exists, and the quintessential question is, does God exist? And you have to kind of wonder, what does existence mean? And there are things. I mean, when I first go with that thing, I look at existence as something of the world, and by definition, a God isn't of the world, so it does not exist. Even if agency might be contributed to this thing that is not of the world. And that's a problem for later. But, it all starts with, is that a good definition for existence, composed of atoms, extant in space-time, and is that a good measure for existence? I exist, I'm pretty sure. My atoms, molecules. I'm not sure how they configure themselves to give me a sense of identity, but, that's the problem of consciousness. And, consciousness may or may not quote unquote exist. Using that definition, maybe it cannot arise purely as a emergent form of chemical interactions, or maybe it can. Nobody seems to be able to prove it yet. I kind of, in my sense of the way I understand the world, which is only through my own lenses, I guess, I kind of believe that the chemistry can do it. And even though I can't prove it, I don't understand the problems of consciousness and stuff. And when people say consciousness, not computation, and all that. But these are ontological problems. What exists? Do thoughts exist? Because they are not of ideas. They're not concrete. They're not of, of space-time and energy, although they can be represented or representations of, can definitely, looks like we are getting some red lights on here. Do we not have enough bandwidth? Or my guard. I wonder if that's a problem. So, anyway, now I lost my train of thought, but, thoughts can be written down, but their content needs to be interpreted by a conscious being. So, do the thoughts really exist if nobody exists? To understand them. I think another thought experiment is if everybody didn't exist, would my TV still exist, or my computer? And there was no one there. And I would think that in space-time, the object or groups of atoms would, but the knowledge of its teleological purpose of a computer or television would not be encapsulated anywhere. So therefore, nobody would look at it and know what the hell it was. Of course, there's nobody to look at it and to know what it was. So it's a kind of a circular deal. So these are the problems of ontology and existence and stuff like that. And at some point, you come to grips with, well, I think, therefore I am, so therefore I know I exist. And hence comes epistemology, and what can you know? You can know things that you observe, perceptions or perceive. You can know conceptually, by rearranging some of those things with ideas and rules, what ought to be true and what ought not to be true, to the point where you can try it out and demonstrate it, and then either prove it true or not. And then there's other things that you cannot know, and these might be the greatest mysteries of the universe, like gravity waves or whatever, or other more simpler things, because what we tend to do is make models that we can operate on at a practical level, and these models, and this is my words for them, I don't know what anybody else thinks about them, but these models are really compressions of reality. They're ways of cataloging ideas and thoughts and rules and observations that are consistent enough to get by in your daily being. So those are of a utilitarian nature. They model a certain part of reality that we interact with, that we're able to perceive and operate within. And these models, therefore, they're not actual reality, but they may allow certain predictions to be made within a certain error rate. And I think it's good enough. And those are the problems of epistemology. And it's kind of hard when you're, especially me, I operate nearly entirely intuitively. Things are intuitively obvious, and I take the shortcut of not applying brain cells to any of the presuppositions and trying to work out what comes after. And I'm thoroughly guilty of that, and I know a lot of people are a lot more guilty than I am of that. And maybe it doesn't matter if it's guilty or not, but those two things, there's a lot of it there. There's a lot of content out there that's philosophical in nature and which never gets addressed in reading, writing, arithmetic, which was pretty much what your primary school or grammar school education was. And even to a certain extent in high school, unless you took a literature class and examined the motivations of characters and stories and got sort of into how humans behave, or took a psychology class, which is not really what you'd call a required course at the high school level or even college. So human motivation and understanding what we know and don't, and how we know it, and how we interact with things that exist, and how we know that they exist. And the classic was, well, we know Saddam Hussein has these weapons. Every president from whoever interacted with Saddam Hussein says, we know we have these questions, or he has these weapons because we've observed this. But apparently nobody observed him dismantling them or removing them or whatever, even though we quote unquote knew. So I would suggest we need a higher bar in our intelligence services for what we know. But I digress on that. That was a long time ago. And I just wish we'd get a do-over on that stuff. Anyway, I feel like I need to play something. I think that's all I wanted to say about good old Matt there. You should check him out. Oh yeah, this was the thing I was working on. Should put that over here so I can see it. I give about 4 bars in there. As usual, Greg Koch is on tour, but he did stop by the Orange Room last week, and he gave us a small lesson on a song called The Tussle, I believe, and I did not, I was not familiar with it, and I don't, is it on this CD? No, it's not that one. You know, I should really listen to more of these all the way through. But, you know, I get favorite songs, and sometimes I don't get to the end of the CD and want to hear the same songs again. Yeah, especially this one. Orange Ruminations. I really got to get to work on that one. But, yeah, The Tussle. It's got a riff. And, well, first, here's the nice thing. A guy actually asked, you know, what was going on with this particular song. And,
oh, you wonder that one, Jay.
Ooh. I got it on slow, so you can see we're working out the notes. That was 25%. And I usually don't need to take it down to 25%, but I wanted to see when he was using an open string and when he was using the fretted of the same note, and I had to. But, you know, this is the excerpt from it.
Oh, you want to know that one, Jay? It goes from C, E flat, 9 to G flat, up to A. Sorry, F. Yeah, G flat. So I go. Here, I'll put it on the close-up cam. Oh, look at that! Up a minor third. Another minor third. And then more up here. All right.
So that's that was his answer to a person asking a question in there, and which is cool. So I worked on tabbing that out, but the interesting part is later on, he actually starts playing the rest of the song. There, I think we can put that in a loop. And this is the cool thing about he's a chicken pickin'. And he's not in open G, he's thumbing that G. which is a harder riff than it really sounds like. And I think if we'll bring this down like about 70. Hear that G thumping? And that's where he does the open string thing. Anyway, I'm digressing there. So when I put this, where is that? So I should learn those chords. It'll be easy because the riff is. Of course, I can't chicken picking for nothing, but the way I'm going to transcribe that is I'm going to use. I can do the second voice. I'm going to put the bass line with the constant thumping on the E string. Well, that's weird. I need to figure out those chords. I'm sorry. Now the thing is, that may be a tritone substitution thing in there. Classic jazz trick there, because it could be dominant seventh on E, could be dominant seventh from the tritone away, which would be a B flat. So the trick to that is going to be looking at what his thumb is doing. And you know what? I can't hear him. I hear him thumping it. Oh boy, I can't see what his pick is on. Maybe it is just the dyads. I just hear the thumping. Can't get a really note value, but I think he might just be going. So B flat, A flat, B flat, A flat. So I'll have to think of that, maybe look at the record, see if you can hear the bass note better. But anyway, that's enough talking. All right. Well, am I going to work on this? What time is it? It's almost time to watch a replay from the Orange Room, so I'm going to probably sign off anyway. Get some chores done here. But that's really all I had to say this afternoon. Everybody have a good weekend, and we will see you. This podcasting stuff is too much work. If I steal flippity flops, that's from other people. I don't know. See you later, I guess. Where's the off button? Stop streaming. You will not be able to reconnect.